You are 34 years old, Colombian, and for the last 11 years you called yourself a businessman. You managed supply chains, negotiated contracts, and moved product across 4 international borders without ever touching it yourself. Then one Thursday morning in March, you sat in a federal holding room in Miami and understood that every single person who shared your last name was gone. You are not a criminal. You want to be very clear about that. You were the one who kept the books clean, who made the wire transfers look like imports, who built the wall between the family and the evidence. You were the accountant. You were the distance. You told yourself that distance was innocence, and for a long time you believed it completely. Your father built the organization from nothing in 1987, in a 2-room house outside Medellin with $14 and 1 connection. By the time you were 8 years old, that house had become a compound with 12 rooms and 3 armed men at the gate. You never asked your father what he did. Children of that world do not ask. You watched and you learned. And what you learned was that the family was everything and everything else was negotiable. Your brother Mateo was the one who ran the streets. He was 26 when he was killed in Cali on a Wednesday in September, 7:14 in the morning, outside a bakery he owned as a front. Your sister Elena disappeared 18 months before that, somewhere between Bogota and the coast, and no body was ever found. Your mother died of a stroke in 2019, and the doctor said it was natural causes, but you know what grief does to a body that has already carried too much. Your uncle, 2 cousins, 3 lieutenants, and the man who had been your father's closest friend for 30 years, all gone within a span of 22 months. A rival organization moved through your family like a slow fire, and by the time you understood the full shape of what was happening, you were the only one left standing. You had no army, you had no allies, you had 4 offshore accounts totaling approximately $2.3 million and a forged Belgian passport you had kept in a safety deposit box in Bogota for exactly this kind of emergency. The defining mistake was not taking the money and disappearing in October. You know that now. You had 72 hours between Elena's disappearance and the moment the rival organization made its first direct move toward you, and you spent those 72 hours trying to hold the operation together instead of walking away. You told yourself it was loyalty. You told yourself it was responsibility. What it actually was pride. You could not accept that the thing your father built was finished, because accepting that meant accepting that the cost of building it had been too high. You met your wife Sofia in 2013 at a dinner party in Cartagena hosted by a legitimate property developer. She was an architect. She designed public libraries and schools. She knew in the abstract that your family had a complicated history, but you had spent 7 years feeding her a version of yourself that was clean and careful and half true. She believed you because she loved you, and she loved you because you had been genuinely good to her in all the ways that cost nothing. You were tender. You were present. You never raised your voice. You told yourself that a man could be both things at once. The first time Sofia asked you a direct question, you were in your kitchen in Bogota, and it was 11:40 at night, and you had just taken a call that lasted 4 minutes and 40 seconds. She asked you what was happening. You told her it was logistics. She looked at you in a way that told you she had stopped believing the word logistics approximately 16 months earlier, and she was simply waiting to see when you would finally be honest. You were not honest. You told her everything was fine and poured 2 glasses of red wine and changed the subject to a building she was designing in the north of the city. She let you change the subject. That was the last real conversation you had with her that didn't carry a silence inside it. By January of the following year, Sofia had taken your daughter Valentina, who was 4 years old, to her mother's house in Cali. She said it was temporary. She said she needed space to think. You knew it was not temporary. You knew it was the measured, dignified exit of a woman who had finally done the arithmetic on the life she was living. You sent her $48,000. She returned $45,000 of it. She kept $3,000, which you later understood was exactly what she needed to move to a new apartment without asking anyone for help. That number told you more about her dignity than anything she ever said aloud. You spent the last operational months alone in an apartment in Medellin, moving between 3 different phones and 2 different names. The organization was not an organization anymore. It was a name attached to a debt and a target. You had 12 people nominally working under you, and by February you had 4, and by April you had one man named Hector who answered calls out of a mixture of loyalty and the fact that he had nowhere else to go. You paid Hector $3,200 a month, and you both understood that the money meant less than the company. The federal agents found you not because you made a mistake, but because someone you trusted for 11 years decided that $180,000 was worth more than silence. You do not hate that person. You understand the calculation. You would not have made the same choice. But you have been in rooms where $180,000 was the difference between a child eating and a child not eating, and you know that mathematics has a weight that loyalty cannot always hold against. In the holding room in Miami, you sat across from a man named Agent Dalton, who was 41 years old and from Ohio, and who looked at you the way professionals look at paperwork. He told you that you were facing a minimum of 23 years and that cooperation would reduce that number significantly. You listened. You said nothing for 4 hours and 17 minutes. Then you asked for a lawyer. Dalton nodded as if he had expected exactly that response and had already moved past it in his mind. You think about Valentina. She is 5 years old now. She has your eyes and Sophia's hands, and she does not know what her last name means yet, but she will learn. Children always learn. You hope she learns it from a textbook or from a stranger, and not from something that sits in her chest like a stone she carries without knowing where it came from. The dark irony settles on you slowly, the way cold settles into a room after a window has been open all night. Your father built everything so that his children would never have to build what he built. He wanted a legitimate life for you. He told you this directly when you were 16, sitting on the back steps of the compound at dusk. He said he did all of it so that you would not have to, and you, in your effort to protect what he built, in your refusal to let it end, had done precisely what he tried to prevent. You became the thing, not the distance from it, not the clean hands at the edge of it, the thing itself. And now you sit in a room in Miami with a number on your back and a daughter who will grow up knowing your name the same way people know the names of cautionary tales. The businessman, the last one, the one who stayed too long and called it loyalty.